I think this conference is important because it brings together practitioners with researchers. And if we are, as a sector, going to innovate and do things differently, it's really important that you have these forums where the researchers can inspire practitioners to take on board some of this new innovation. So for me, it's really, really important to bring these two communities together to discuss the future. I think the biggest challenge we face is in relation to wastewater. Large parts of the world still don't treat their wastewater, and that creates huge public health issues and environmental challenges. 85% of our wastewater is not treated, and so I think the next 20 years will really be the golden age in terms of wastewater provision. The last 50 years for me, in terms of the developed world, was almost like a pilot study in terms of wastewater development. And so the developing countries and the emerging economies have an opportunity to learn from the mistakes made in the West and now start to deploy very efficient, much smaller and much more effective wastewater treatment technologies. Well, wastewater is a very potent commodity, and so it's only by deploying certain technologies that we clean that wastewater so that it can be safe to either be reused or discharged. The emphasis now is really on reuse. Water is becoming more scarce, and so wastewater is viewed as a resource. And so you need technologies in order to treat that wastewater so it can be used effectively again. And you also need technologies that allow you to recover some value from those waste streams. So you can recover energy, you can recover nutrients. And if we can do that successfully, then we can fund the operation so that it becomes a lot cheaper for us to operate it. It's only through innovation will we find those solutions that are going to allow us to do that effectively. I would say that within IWA we have a program called Water-Wise Cities, and there we view the entire water cycle through a single lens. So your drinking water side, your collection, and then your treatment of wastewater is viewed through one lens, and also stormwater. That particular systems view of the water cycle allows us to look at options which may be anywhere within that water cycle. So our Water-Wise programs facilitates that sort of presentation of the water cycle and allows practitioners to understand the interconnections and the interdependencies between different components. We also have launched a new program called Digital Water, and that's where we're looking at innovations in the digital water sector in relation to sensor technology development, in terms of big data and machine learning, and in terms of the integration between operation technologies and information technologies, so smart devices. So that ecosystem is something we're studying through our digital water program. And I think if we're going to do clever things with water, in terms of reuse, in terms of resource recovery reuse, we need to employ a lot of this digital innovation to allow us to do that effectively. Yeah, I think, water by its nature are very large systems, very spatial. And we collect a lot of data. We collect data on water quality, we collect data on population demographics, we collect data on flows and pressures. And I think if we harness all of that information, coupled with other information that might not necessarily be collected by the water sector itself, it allows us to better understand how people behave and how we can match our supply to that demand. And so I think big data allows us to develop certain types of correlations between what we're generating in terms of supply and the demand for that water, and then better match that supply to that demand so we get greater efficiencies.